Good morning, everybody. I do want to thank you so much for praying for me. I'm better than I was. I have to say, I slept better last night. The night before, I was coughing most of the night, and I didn't sleep at all, really. But my voice is still not back, and I'm still coughing a bit. But I'm very grateful to you for your concern and your and your prayers. I'm still thinking about the resurrection today, and thinking about that amazing verse or two in Job chapter 19. Job is not an easy book to read, and it's not easy to follow the arguments in Job. There are one or two things on YouTube that you can look up that will tell you the overall story of Job in a cartoon form. Very, very helpful. They are, if you want to look at those. But right in the middle here, Job, you know the story of Job. I'm sure you know the story of Job. Job was a very wealthy man. He had lots of children, lots of flocks, lots of herds, lots of wealth. And he was a God worshipper, a God-fearing man. It was probably in the very early days before Abraham and before any of these things happened, very early on. And the accuser asks God if this man will still love him if he takes away everything he has. And God says, you can do that. You can take everything away from him. And he still worshipped God. And then Satan said, well, he might worship you, but if you afflict him in his body, he won't worship you. And he still did. And Job was a man of integrity, and he had his friends who argued with him and who basically mainly said, it must be something you've done for God to treat you like this. You can't be a righteous and upright man if this should happen to you. And he argues very strongly that he hasn't done anything wrong to deserve what is happening to him. And it's a great lesson for us, Job, to say that, God does not punish us with affliction, with taking away our loved ones, with making us suffer. It's not God. It's the enemy who does that. It was the enemy that took away Job's family. It was the enemy that afflicted him in his body. And in the end, we read such beautiful words in Job of his faith and of his, as he ends up really saying, who am I to question what has happened in my life? I will still follow God. He is so far beyond me in understanding and in thinking that I can't. All I'll do is follow and worship him. But right in the middle of this book, there are these amazing words. I know them. I'll try and quote them from the authorized version, the King James version, because that was the version that was set to music in the Messiah. I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he will stand on the latter day upon the earth. And though worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh will I see God. In my version it says, it's Job 19:25. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and at last he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been thus destroyed, then from my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see on my side, and my eyes shall behold, and not another. My heart faints within me. And I've looked it up in the Amplified version, which says this. For I know that my Redeemer and Vindicator lives, and at last, the last one, he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin, even this body, has been destroyed, then from my flesh, or within it, I shall see God, whom I, even I, shall see for myself and on my side, and my eyes shall behold him, and not as a stranger. My heart pines away and is consumed within me. Job, before any revelation of God to a particular people like the people of Israel, before any of that happened, he had this knowledge from God that even after his body had been buried and worms had destroyed all the flesh, that he would have flesh again, that he would rise and he would see his Redeemer for himself. His, what does it say here? Redeemer and vindicator. That at the end of time, he would see, even though his body was completely destroyed, he would see his Redeemer in his flesh. He would see him. I will see him. He would see him. What a wonderful revelation he had, that even in the midst of all his suffering and all the things he was going through, he knew that God, even if nothing changed in the rest of his life, and he was dead and buried, and worms destroyed his body, his flesh, he still says, after my skin, after my body has been destroyed, then in my flesh, or from my flesh, I shall see God. That's a contradiction, isn't it? If the flesh is destroyed, how can he see God from his flesh? It's because God has given him flesh again, so that he's able to stand and see his Redeemer. And that wonderful phrase, I know that my Redeemer lives. I know that my Redeemer lives. This is the joy of the resurrection, that whatever happens in our lives, whatever comes across our path, however hard it is, even if we never have, and that could never ever be true, that we never ever had another good day. If every day was sad and miserable, and it's never going to be like that, because God gives us so much grace, so much beauty to look at. He lifts our spirits when we're down. As we turn to him, he lifts us up and he gives us hope. He gives us hope. He gave Job hope. Job didn't know the end of his story. Job didn't know that the day would come when his wealth would be restored, his well-being, his physical well-being would be restored, and he would have some more children. He didn't know that any of that would come his way. As far as he knew, he was going to spend the rest of his life with a body that was sick and full of trouble and very uncomfortable to live in and very painful and very unpleasant. He didn't know God was going to change any of that, but he did know that his Redeemer lived, and that even if nothing changed the rest of his life, there would be that day when he would have new flesh and he would stand and he would see, my eyes shall behold and not another. With my eyes, even the eyes that have gone because I'm dead and buried and decayed. It's a horrible thought, the worms destroy this body, but that's what even though the natural order of things is, he knew enough about it to know that when you were dead and buried, you returned to the dust. But with my eyes I shall see God. My eyes shall behold and not another. And then he says, my heart faints within me. He was overwhelmed by the thought of the wonder of that knowledge. How did he know it? He just knew it. He just knew with every ounce of his being that he would see God, that he would see his Redeemer. And we know that Redeemer now to be Jesus. And we can say with Job, I know that my Redeemer lives. And though worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see him. I shall see him. And the promises are that when we see him, we will be like him. God bless you. Have a great day as you continue to rejoice in the wonder of the resurrection of the Lord Jesus. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.